Bengals fans, make sure you give me a follow over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, at Stone Shields _. We will have all of our Bengals breakdown content posted to my Twitter page. We are trying to get to 500 followers by the end of the month of October. Got just over a week to get that done. That is the goal that the bosses put out there for us. So we're hoping to meet that goal here on Bengals Breakdown, trying to get to 500 followers. So help me out. Give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields _ and help yourself out as well because all of our Bengals breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page. Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me here this afternoon / early evening. We're going to talk about some moves the Cincinnati Bengals could make prior to the trade deadline that is coming up here on November 5th. So we're going to talk some trade targets as well as just some free agents that currently don't have a home that the Bengals might be looking to bring in to help boost their roster. Let's talk about the offensive line right now. Taking a look at what the offensive line room looks like at this point, it's been really solid for Cincinnati here in 2024, but they need to add probably a little bit of depth to this group considering some of the injuries that they have suffered. Of course, Trent Brown was going to be the starter at that right tackle position. He gets hurt. He's out for the year. They lose Deontay Smith prior to the season. Jackson Kirkland also with that bicep injury, lose him to the season as well. And with Orlando Brown dinged up, by the way, at this point his status is questionable. Still don't know whether or not he will be out there this week against Philadelphia, but you might want to be adding someone to this room because you're one more major injury away to having a big problem on your hands. So let's talk about some notable offensive tackle free agents here in the NFL right now. And the first guy that jumps out at you is David Bakhtiari. Bakhtiari, of course, pretty much a household name if you follow the league closely. Really was a great offensive tackle in Green Bay for a long time. He was a fourth-round pick back in 2013. Really good buddies with Aaron Rodgers, of course. He was two-time first-team All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowl selection as well. But really, it's the injuries with Bakhtiari that have been an issue in the past. He only played one game in 2023, played a little bit in 2022, and also only played one game in 2021 as well. So the injuries with Bakhtiari are the biggest concern. Interested to see where his mindset is as to whether or not he would like to come back and play some football. I do believe when he's out there at full health, he still has some energy left in the tank that he could give a professional football team. And if you're David Bakhtiari, this stage of your career, you only really want to come play for a contender. In Cincinnati, over the past couple of weeks, maybe they have proven that to Bakhtiari, but he's really the biggest name that stands out to me as a guy that's not on a team that could come in and have an immediate impact on your football team. I would love to have David Bakhtiari here in Cincinnati kind of filling in that offensive line room just in case another injury happens and just another depth piece for you if you are Frank Pollock, the Bengals offensive line coach. Leads us to the pinned comment of today's video. Would you sign David Bakhtiari? Be honest with us in the comment section. Type S for sign or P for pass. I want to know what you guys think. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know. A couple of other quick names here along the offensive line. Donovan Smith is another name that doesn't have a team right now. Smith, of course, was drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had a really solid career with Tampa, was a part of that Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and then last year was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs and helped them win that Super Bowl. So a two-time Super Bowl champion still doesn't have a home. You know, I'm kind of just waiting for Kansas City really to bring him back, but he is still out there at this point, and he could be another potential guy that you add to your offensive line room. Cheap guy, veteran guy, winning guy. I think it would be a good boost for Cincinnati if you're looking to add someone in that capacity. Also, Charles Leno is another name here on this list, another veteran guy, 33 years old, had a solid start to his career with the Chicago Bears, started for 7 years for them, I believe, and then past couple of seasons with the Washington football team / the Washington Commanders, and he currently is not on a team either. But I think if you're bringing someone in, it's definitely going to be kind of that veteran guy that's been around the block that you're kind of just rolling the dice on, seeing maybe if they could stay healthy or not. But given the issues you have in terms of the health, not the performance, but the health of your offensive line, I think it's time to bring in another guy, whether it be free agency or through a trade. Those three guys obviously are free agent options. Now, we are going to talk about some trades here on today's edition of Bengals Breakdown. Two household names that we're going to discuss here on the defensive side of the ball. So that is coming up next. Make sure you stick around for that. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics and let you guys know that Bengals sideline hats are out now and they're on sale now. And you can get them at that link there at the bottom of your screen, chatsports.com/Bengals sideline. Look, I've gotten a few of these hats. I love rocking them. They're absolutely awesome. And that's what you see Zach Taylor and some of the coaches rocking on the sideline as well. Would really recommend you guys go over there, check that out. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. Again, that's chatsports.com/Bengals sideline. Got some really cool options there. Big shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Make sure you guys click on that link and go check those out. All right, now let's move into the trade side of our show here today on Bengals Breakdown. Bleacher Report came up with a trade proposal here, and as you can tell, given the graphic on your screen, it's got Myles Garrett coming here to Cincinnati, and that is quite the haul that the Browns would receive from Cincinnati. 25 and 2026 first-round picks, and as well as 25 and 26 third-round picks, and an additional 2026 fourth-round pick. So that is an absolute haul, no doubt about that. But Garrett, of course, the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He's a great football player, former first overall pick. If you're going to get a guy like him in a trade, you're going to have to give a lot in order to do that in terms of the compensation that is needed for that. So I have my own opinions here that we'll get to here in a moment. But first, let's check out what exactly Bleacher Report had to say in their article. They said, acquiring Myles Garrett would instantly elevate a Bengals defense that has mightily struggled against top-tier opponents. If Cincinnati's brass truly believes this team can fully reverse its early season fortunes and go on a run by adding one more piece, it would be well worth the high price of prying the reigning Defensive Player of the Year away from an in-state AFC North rival. And look, in my opinion, that's just way too much to give up here if you're Cincinnati. Giving away your first-round picks for the next 2 seasons for a guy, by the way, that's been a little bit banged up this year and hasn't quite reached the levels that he was reaching last year. Granted, he was absolutely one of the best players in the National Football League on the defensive side of the ball. Absolutely no doubt about that. But taking a look again at this trade proposal, that's just too much to give up. But like I said, Garrett is an unreal player. He has the ability to go out there and wreck football games. Of course, Cincinnati has been on that side of that in the past where he has just dominated the Bengals in some games in the past. Luckily for Cincinnati, that didn't take place last week. He didn't even have a sack against Joe Burrow and company, so big props to the offensive staff and the offensive line for putting together a good game plan against him. But also, the Bengals love their picks. You would never see Cincinnati make a move like this. If they had to give up maybe one pick, that's probably a bit of a stretch for this organization, right? But the long list of picks that we mentioned, it's just not something that this organization would do. And by the way, if I'm Cleveland, ain't no way I'm trading with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's your in-state AFC North rival, and there's really just no reason if you're the Cleveland Browns to be looking to make that move in your own division and have to see him twice a year. That really would not make any sense whatsoever. So it's exciting to, I guess, think about the prospect of Myles Garrett being a Cincinnati Bengal. This is another kind of far-fetched idea here from Bleacher Report, and I would not pursue it, because I just think ultimately you would have to give up too much to get him. And the Bengals really have done a good job of drafting in the past, and they love those picks. So I would be shocked if something like this happened. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you want Myles Garrett in Cincinnati? I did mention, obviously he's one of the best players in the National Football League, but he's also been a rival for you since, 2017 or whenever he came into the league. Again, that first overall selection for Cleveland in 2017. So let me know in the comment section. Another opportunity for you guys to get interactive here with our show at Bengals Breakdown. Do you want Myles Garrett in Cincinnati? Type Y for yes or N for no. Here's another one that I feel like is a bit more realistic here, coming from PFF. PFF saying that the Bengals could potentially trade for a guy like Budda Baker. Let's take a look at what PFF had to say about the Bengals trading for Budda Baker. The Bengals are still clawing for their 2024 playoff lives, but the defense needs definite retooling. The major lacuna has been safety, where Cincinnati ranks 30th in team grade. Free agent addition Geno Stone has underperformed in a major way, while Von Bell hasn't fared amazingly either. Neither has posted an overall grade above 61.3. And look, Budda Baker at this stage in his career is really one of the best safeties in the National Football League. I think he is an incredible player, kind of that same draft class as Myles Garrett, went in the second round in that draft. He's a two-time first-team All-Pro, six-time Pro Bowler as well, led the NFL in solo tackles in 2019. So this really is an incredible football player that would give you an immediate boost, no doubt about it, at that position. And we had high hopes for this safety room coming into the season, right? The Bengals not having Nick Scott anymore, right? And you get that kind of veteran presence back. You got Geno Stone, who killed you in Baltimore. Now he's coming over to your side. Geno Stone's been a really major disappointment for this football team. Obviously, you hope he's all right dealing with that shin issue that he suffered against Cleveland. Did have an interception in that game, so that was definitely the bright spot of his career in Cincinnati to this point. But on the back end, you've really struggled, just like you did last year as well. And Budda Baker certainly would be able to go out there and help fix that issue. But I think you're at the point right now for Cincinnati. Again, that trade deadline is approaching. You're going to have one more game prior to that trade deadline, which is the deadline, of course, coming up on November 5th. You win Sunday in Philadelphia, I think you're right back, really right back in the swing of things. At a 500 record. Maybe after that game, you try to move a piece and bring somebody else in on your football team. Again, I think the Bengals should be thinking win now. I'm buying if I am Cincinnati, despite this slow start to your season. My mindset on T. Higgins, by the way, has kind of changed, kind of hoping they give him some money and bring him back in Cincinnati. But regardless, this is probably the best roster on paper you're going to have for a while in the foreseeable future. So I wouldn't mind seeing this front office make a big swing and try to bring in a guy like Budda Baker to this football team here in 2024, but we'll see. Again, a move probably not going to come till after Sunday's game, if it even is going to come. I think that safety position is definitely a place you could target, and a guy like Budda Baker, certainly one of the best that could be available, considering Arizona probably isn't going to be in the thick of things in the NFC. Another opportunity here to get interactive with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. Last chance to do it on today's episode. Would you trade for Budda Baker? Type A for yes, B for no. PFF didn't really do like a mock trade situation, but I definitely think you're giving up way less for Budda Baker than, of course, you are for Myles Garrett. But sound off for us in the comments. Would you trade for Budda Baker? Type A for yes or B for no. Lastly, before we get out of here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. If the Bengals make a move, we will have a video, of course, for you guys here at the channel. So you don't want to miss out on that if potentially that comes in the foreseeable future. So hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV.